Welcome everyone to today CI exam review of level 4. We just finished July 2026 exam series. So the questions are still very fresh and I want to help you review the recent question, the trend, and how you can prepare for upcoming exams in November and in 2027. Before I start, I would like to have a sub-note about how you can improve your answer. First, as you know, in level 4 and in level 5 and even in level 6, the CI exam now may have scenario-based question. The problem is scenario can be very long and could be a distraction for many students. Therefore, a good strategy here is to focus on the question first and then the scenario second. Why? Because when the scenario is long, reading it may take time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and you only have 180 minutes for the whole exam, which means you have 45 minutes for each question. Wasting 5 to 10 minutes just to read the question is not productive. So you should start writing as soon as possible. And if the if the question has a long scenario, and you see that it could be quite confusing to read it, then you should start outline your answer first based on the main question. The question is something like explain or describe or analyze some matters. Okay, so it has a common word and it has a specific object for you. So you should focus on that first, and then you can collect the information, support information from the scenario later. By that way, you may not waste your time, but you maximize the time for writing, and you can also improve your performance. So on my screen, I'm showing the 4 questions for L4M1. The first question is very predictable about the fire rise in procurement. Probably it is the most important subject in question number 1. Question number 2 focuses on the CIPS procurement cycle. And now it asks all of the 30 stages and asks you to highlight 5 stages of your choice. Question number 3, return to a matter that was rarely asked in previous exam, that is the application of ILO conventions. So to answer this one, you need to understand first what ILO is, and second, what are the key ILO conventions and what are their consideration here. And that might be a little bit maybe I think that this could be the most challenging part of L4M1, since our conventions is not a part that many students pay attention to. And finally, question number 4 focuses on the objectives of third sector organization and how procurement may have the third sector organization to achieve them. So question number 4 doesn't really ask about the objective themselves. It doesn't ask you to list the objectives, but more importantly, it asks you to explain how procurement may contribute to the objective, meaning like what procurement can do differently to deliver those objectives for a third sector organization. As far as I know, question number 1 and question number 2 have no scenario, but the 2 other question, number 3 and number 4, have scenario. So we may approach a little bit differently. Now I will go into the details, and you will see the part about L4M8 later. First, let's talk about the question number 1, the fire rise in procurement. As I know, this question has 2 parts. The first part is about explaining the fire rise, and the second part is about explaining the impact of failing to achieve a right. Okay, so you can select any right of your choice. I think this one is very basic, and most students can get a very easy score from, can get very easy points from this question. So just to explain the fire right, you just need to list what are the fire rights, what the fire rights are, and some details of the fire rights. As you know, the fire right include the right quality, the right quantity, the right time, right place, and the right price. And to explain each right, you may explain a little bit about what it means by achieving a right, meaning like right quality is to achieve the fitness for purpose or to get a fit for purpose product, or getting the right quantity is purchasing the products or services at the right quantity, at the right number, and not excess or not in shortage. Okay, that is so on. So depending on the value of each part, you should invest your energy differently. Normally, in my experience, then the second part often has higher value, like about 16 points compared to the first part of just 9 points. But for this question, I don't know. Maybe the first part has more value. So depending on the value of the question, depending on the value of each part, you should invest differently. Um, I won't allow any recording now because I already have the recording and I will share that later. So I will turn off that permission. Let's continue. To explain this thing it isn't difficult, but you may need some practice. Now, maybe this is your own exercise. You can write the file right, try to explain everything regarding the file rights, about the definition of each right, the benefits of each right. The benefits here also include some risk of not achieving that right. For example, when we don't have the right quantity, we may purchase in excess or in shortage of some product, and that may lead to excessive inventory costs, or we may face shortage and the loss of order, etc. So that is a risk. And finally, you can explain a little bit about how to achieve each right. For example, for the right price, then we need to do whole life cost analysis, and then we can do the competitive tendering negotiation to achieve the right price, to get the best price as you can from the supplier. For the second part, it is also quite simple. Just to explain about the costs and the risk when a right is not achieved. So I have a small example here. When the right quality is not achieved, then we may need to rework that product, or and by doing so, we may waste some extra time for supplier to finish. And if we purchase some product that is over specification, then there could be some extra cost for unnecessary features. And key the key matter that may give you extra score here is to have some examples or linkage to scenario. Since this question has no scenario, so you should write an example. And the example here should be something come from your work experience that demonstrates the point as you are writing. Here, as I provide example about the right quality, maybe you should, or maybe I also should provide an example how I can expand the method of right quality. So, for example, when I want to purchase a piece of software, right? Then I define too many features of that software. For example, I want an ERP system, but I also want it has the ability to integrate some extra feature, like, all right, like the ability to host email directly, or ability to host a website directly. So for each extra feature, I need to pay some extra cost. And those features are not as good as some dedicated website or dedicated email client. So I need to pay more, but what I receive is of less quality than independent software. So that is not an example of right quality, but a failure to achieve a right quality in procurement. Okay, so that is the way you can write example. And if you have the example, then you may get a very high band, like getting about 60% for this question. Now, we can move on with the second part. The second question focuses exclusively on ship procurement cycle. And it also has two parts. The first part is about the 13 stages of procurement and supply cycle. Here, your job is to list all of the 13 stages. You don't need to write it. You don't need to write them as verbatim as from the study guide or from SIP website. But if you can convey the key ideas, then they count. The second part asks you to explain the 5 stages of your own choice. So you can select any 5. And if you want to do something like less labors or something you don't want to write much, I suggest that you should write about stage number 7, very short. Just issue the tender document, very short. Or stage number 10, about warehouse. Okay, yeah. Yes, Punza, is there anything?
So I made a mistake, sorry.
Yeah.
Daniel, sorry.
Okay, so let me continue. I'm saying that you can write 5 stages of your own choice. And if you want to write little as possible, then I suggest to write about stage number 7, very short. And stage number 10, also short. Or stage 13. They are very short, and you can save your time for other questions. That is your choice. But if you want to demonstrate your own knowledge, then you can select other stages, like stage number 1, or stage number 2, or stage number 8, and stage number 9. It always depends on the choice, so it matters. And the strategy here is just to manage your time. So I think that to maximize the score in this in the exam, then you should select the stages strategically. Writing about the short stages may save your time, and you may invest your time in other questions. The time is our very precious resource here. You don't have any extra time. So if you select you can select number 4, number 7, number 10, and number 13. Okay, so first, with the first part, with the 13 stages, I think that you can write in bullet points and in lists. You don't need to write verbatim as in the study guide, but you should convey the key idea. So, for example, the first stage should be about define the needs and develop specification. The second stage about analyze the market and make a buy decision. The third stage about developing the strategy and plan. The fourth is about market testing and pre-procurement engagement. You can write so. Stage number 5 is to develop the documentation. Stage number 6, you can write it as supplier selection or supplier appraisal. They are the same thing. Stage number 7 is issue tender document or send the tender document. Okay, they are acceptable. Stage number 8 is to evaluate and validate bid and tender. You can write about evaluate, bid, or quotation. That's the same thing. Stage 9 is contract award and implementation. Stage 10 is to receive, manage the warehouse and logistics. Okay, something that maybe not in the same as in the study guide. Stage 11 is contract performance or contract performance measurement, right? Stage 12 is supplier relationship management, and stage 13 is asset management. All right, so by just listening, then you can get very easy score. For the second part, then you should describe the 5 stages in details, and this is my outline. For example, I select stage number 1, stage number 5, and stage number 10. So I structure my own answer in 2 main points. First, the purpose of that stage, and second, about the activities that procurement should do at that stage. So at the first stage, then the purpose here is to produce a detailed specification for supplier, or to support supplier selection, or to support the procurement. At this stage, then procurement receive the requisition and communicate with the end user, maybe challenging the demand to improve the specification. The specification can also be improved by using standardization, by using the catalog, value analysis, value engineering, or early supply involvement, etc. At stage number 5, the purpose here is to prepare the necessary documents for upcoming contract. The activity include writing the documents, and the following documents should be developed, maybe invitation tender or request for quotation, the draft contract terms and condition, pre-qualification questionnaire or request for information. We also need to finish the specification. Other contract schedules may be developed as well, like KPI, SOA, or performance management framework, and other documents as required. At stage number 10, the purpose is to safely receive the goods and services. So the activities include preparing the location for receipt, monitor the logistics, and check the delivered goods and sign delivery note, and finally input the performance data into the software. You can also include other details, but you should consider about the time. This is a very basic question, just like question number 1. So you should perform or do this as quick as possible. We have limited time, so that is your consideration. Now we are going to more challenging part of the exam. The third question is about ILO conventions. And just like the first 2 questions, it has 2 parts. First, explain what ILO is. And second, explain the 4 core ILO conventions that have been breached by the actions in scenario. So, of course, we have a scenario here, and there is a company doing some unethical thing. So you need to identify what kind of breach has been made, and what conventions are in question here. So this question requires you to understand about our conventions. Maybe they're too long. Maybe you only know about some basic concept. That's fine, as long as you know the spirit of these documents. But in my presentation, I still need to provide the exact information. Now, first part, we need to explain what ILO is. ILO is abbreviation for International Labour Organization. It is a United Nations agency, and whose main mandate is to improve and advance the social justice for the workers worldwide. It sets international labor standard. It sets the international labor standard, and therefore it creates a framework, a legal framework for every member state to follow. ILO has actually 11 core conventions. I just update from the website. So this is the most up-to-date information. ILO has actually 11 core conventions or documents. We can spread them into 5 areas. The first area is the freedom of association and collective bargaining. These instruments give the workers the right to form union, to form the representative organization, and they can negotiate the wages and other working conditions with the employers. So this is very important right. There are two conventions on this area. First is the freedom of association, and second is a convention on the right to organize and collective bargaining. The second matter in ILO is the elimination of forced or compulsory labor. These conventions prevent the formation of modern slavery and forced labor. So there are also two conventions and a protocol. The first convention is the Forced Labor Convention, and it has some related protocol, and this protocol is also counted as a core convention in ILO standard. The second convention is the abolition of forced labor. The third area of ILO is abolition of child labor. They prevent the formation and the exploitation of children in labor. There are two conventions. First, establish the minimum age for working population, and second, prevent the worst form of child labor. The fourth area of concern for ILO is elimination of discrimination. Okay, eliminate the inequality and discrimination at work. So there are two concerns here. First, equal remuneration. It means like men or women, people from any social background should receive the same pay for the same job as they do. And second one is about other kind of discrimination. Okay, it's like the employer are not allowed to discriminate against the employee based on some background. Sorry, I need to answer a phone call. Okay, sorry. Let's continue. There are two conventions about the elimination of discrimination. The first one is about equal payment, equal remuneration, equal payment for every worker at the same position. And second one, prevent the employer from discriminating their employees based on any background, like about gender, religions, social status, etc. So everyone should receive the same opportunity at work. Okay, so this is second convention about this area. And the fifth area, this is a new one, and the study guide had to mention that because it is very new, and I just update that with the IL website. The fifth area is the health and safety working environment. So there are also two conventions, occupational safety and health, prevent or oblige the employers worldwide to create a safe environment for workers and prevent the abuse or any form of discrimination, any form of exploitation. And second is about the promotional framework for occupational safety and health. Okay, just like a very new one and just an upgrade from the previous one. So the ILO core conventions are about to promote the rights of the workers, and they tend to establish the minimum standards for every organizations, for every governments worldwide. So when the supplier, just like in scenario, has some breach of ILO convention or they have some abuse of labor, then procurement or the buyer should prevent and also establish some kind of code conduct and also have some kind of punishment or disincentive for the supplier. So it depends on the scenario. So you should write about how procurement respond to those breach of core convention here. The final question also has a scenario, and the question is examine the 5 ways in which procurement can help that organization to achieve its objectives. I don't have the specific question here. I don't have the specific scenario, so I just make a very general suggestion. This is a question for about non-for-profit organization. So I can rely on the study guide content on their objective. The objective may include attracting the donation for charity or deliver the social impact or raise the awareness. Or maybe if the organization is membership based, then is to provide the member services. And the main part of the question doesn't ask about these objectives, but about what procurement can do, the specific procurement actions that may help the organization to achieve their objectives. So you need to write the specific actions. Here, I may give a few ways. I may suggest a few ways. First, like to align the procurement with the organization objective, then we should purchase the goods or service with ESG. So you can rely on the procurement cycle, like include the ESG considerations in the specification, or select the suppliers with ESG certification and include some contract terms for ESG consideration, like we can terminate the contract if we find the supplier breaches any ESG commitment or require the supplier to commit or to have the code conduct. The second action may be improve the supply chain performance through competitive tendering, contract performance management, or through partnership. By improving the performance, then we can improve the efficiency. And efficiency is a thing that may attract donation and deliver the long-lasting social impact. And we can also collaborate with stakeholders to improve the social impact or to raise the awareness. And also they relate to the procurement policy, the procurement policy and governance. We need to establish or adopt the strong policies like about the code conduct requiring both the buyer and the supplier to comply with the code conduct and promote the ESG standards throughout supply chain. Or we can adopt some form of code of ethics and prevent conflict of interest and also having a clear policy about donation. So depends on the specific question. You can also suggest other actions as well. This one relies on the scenario. Okay, so that is the end of L4M1. Now we shall have a short break before we continue with L4M8. Now, let's continue with the revision of L4M8. I think that L4M8 this time is somewhat more challenging than L4M1. All four questions have scenario, and this should be noted in your guide, in your study. L4M8 has a title of procurement and supply in practice. It means like you need to apply procurement and supply theories in different scenario, in different circumstances. So you should expect that L4M8 exam always have scenario. Just like L4M1, it has four questions. First is about the benefits and challenges of holistic approach to procurement. So maybe this is the first time you see the word holistic approach to procurement. Actually, it is not something difficult. It is just structured procurement process or structured procurement system. The second part of second question of L4M8 is about market analysis, the role of market analysis and different tools for market analysis. The third question, as you may expect, about the whole life asset management. And the fourth question is about monitoring suppliers' ESG compliance or adherence. That's the word. Now I will give you the details. The first question is about the holistic approach to procurement. I think that it should be, I should explain a little bit about holistic approach to procurement. And the specification, it asks about 2 benefits and 3 challenges of this approach. So this approach means, I think that it is the structured procurement system. It has the clear structure, written policies, processes, and procedures. And it covers not just the economic efficiency, but also ESG consideration. So it creates the consistency and provides some guidance for procurement along with their job. So with such system, then procurement may receive some benefits, like about consistency in the way we treat the suppliers. And we may apply the principle of continuous improvement to improve the performance over time. The organization may enjoy better control and governance, less risk of bribery, corruption, and fraud. It also enables audit trail and accountability, and it may support the training for junior procurement professionals. But implement holistic approach to procurement also requires commitment, investment, require capital, require the skills of the procurement and relevant technologies. And it also requires the stakeholder support. Without that support, then we cannot implement the system with ease. And we may face the challenges or hurdle when we roll out the system. So this is the way you can answer. And remember that the question has scenario, so you should link your answer to the scenario. The second question is about market analysis. There are also 2 parts. The first is about the reasons for doing market analysis. And second is about 3 market analysis tools that should be used. For this question, then you should first explain about market analysis and its benefits. The reasons for market analysis are just another expression for the benefits of market analysis. Market analysis is a process. It is a process of researching and evaluating the market factors that affect the supply, demand, and also the market position, market power, and the price or other information about the market. It providing the procurement and supply with information. We can know about the best sources of supply. We can use that information to negotiate better terms and conditions and also the price. Such preparation may reduce the risk and uncertainty. We may prepare a plan like contingency plan or some kind of insurance for if the market option fail, and improve the quality and performance of the product and service if you see some other option from the market. So market analysis provides us with information, and we can use that information in our advantage. For the tools, then you can describe any given tree, but the only consideration here is to consider about the time. You should balance between time and performance. I know that writing longer may get you higher score, but that may drain your time and you may lose precious time for other questions. So select your tools effectively and avoid to over describe the matter. For example, here you can see that I list a few tools like stipple analysis and Porter's five forces. They tend to be very long model. They tend to be very informative model. And if you try to describe them in details, then you may lose considerable time. So on my screen, due to lack of space, I only just write some basic introduction. You may also provide with other information like about their use and the example of using in the scenario. Okay, so that would be more helpful rather than just giving very long description of the tool. Now, the tools here, I suggest 4 tools, and you can select any 3. Of course, in the study guide, they provide you more, but here I think that they are very typical one. You can use the SWOT analysis, that is to analyze the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. You can use the stipple analysis to analyze the macro factors like social, technological, economic, environment, political, legal, and ethical factors. The Porter's 5 forces can be used to analyze the market powers, and the strength of each force may also affect the balance of power between supplier and buyer. And we may estimate the profitability, average profitability of the industry, and we can expect how to negotiate with the supplier. Supply and demand show us the current position of the market, the balance between the quantity, price of a product and service in the market. If we see any factors that affect supply or demand, we may expect some changes in the price, some movement in the price. And this too may help us to predict the change in the price and quantity in the market. Now, let's move on to question number 3. This question is very typical for L4M8 exam. The question number 3 is almost always asked about whole life asset management or whole life cost. We still have a scenario here, and the question is to describe the elements of whole life asset management for a bottling machine. So the first thing here I want to note is that you should distinguish between whole life cost and whole life asset management. The names here are different, so they are indicating different things. The whole life cost is about the expenses, about the financial costs of the assets along its life cycle. But whole life asset management sounds an action, and it is actually an action, or more specifically, it is a process to manage the assets. So whole life asset management is about different stages. You can call it elements, that's fine. But the process always has the stage. So I call them the stages. A process always has stages. So these elements are the stages of an access along its life cycle. The answer here may be a little bit overlap between two things, but you should redirect your own energy toward the right thing. If the question asks you about the whole life cost, then you should explain about different expenses. But if the question asks you about the whole life asset management, then you should answer about different stages of the process. In study guide, they suggest 8 elements of whole life asset management. I don't remember the page, but you can open the study guide and just flip to turn the page to part 3.1, and it is just the first page or second page from the part. So the study guide introduced 8 elements: need identification, procurement, construction, commissioning, deterioration or maintenance, condition performance monitoring, decommissioning, and renewal replacement. Of course, not every product follows the same thing, and you can customize your answer based on the nature of the product. If the product in the question is a building, then you should mention construction. But if the product is a machine and it is an industrial scale machine, like a bottling machine, then you should talk like about commissioning, right? So depending on the nature of the goods, then you should use different stages. Otherwise, if this model is too hard to recall, then you can use the common sense. We can always use 5 elements: pre-acquisition, acquisition, operation cost, operation stage, maintenance, and end of life. And with the study guide, you can see that decommissioning and renewal or replacement 2 elements during the end of life. Okay, or procurement, need identification and procurement belong to pre-acquisition and acquisition. Construction and commissioning belong to acquisition. But you should select either one of the two. All right. Now, this is my suggestion for this specific question. I use the stages or elements from study guide, so I customize my answer based on the nature of the product. First, for a bottling machine, then I identify the need. I identify the need by map the stakeholder and communicate with them. Sorry. And then my procurement team may draft and improve the specification, do the market research, take some quotation or estimate, and prepare the budget or plan for budget allocation. This access could be quite costly, and there may be a requirement for lending from the bank. So we need to work with that as well, prepare the documents and prepare for the documents for lending from the bank. The second stage is about procurement. Procurement means to go through the procurement process. We need to identify we need to establish a plan for procurement. We need to identify the suppliers. We need to appraise them. We need to organize the tendering process and negotiate the contract. So all of these actions belong to procurement. And then this is a piece of machinery. So I use commissioning rather than construction. So commissioning here means prepare location for installing that machinery. And then we have the supplier to install them, to deliver them. And then we may test whether the machine works as intended. and accept them. And finally, the machine may be too complex for a normal person to use. So there could be some training for usage and regular training for servicing or so on. The next part is maintenance, or you can write deterioration, just like this one. But I prefer to use maintenance. It shows the proactiveness in managing the assets. Maintenance means we need to make some schedule of preventative maintenance. We need to arrange and purchase and manage the spare part in case of tear and wear and replacement of spare parts. And we also need to monitor the conditions of the machine. And when it breaks down unexpectedly, then we need to call for corrective maintenance and also account for the lost time, the downtime. There are two other stages I consider here. First is condition performance monitoring. Why I consider this? Because for an industrial machine, then managing it is not simple. It's not simple. And we may need to use software to operate that and monitor the machine. So this one may involve both the cost and the training here, and it requires some expertise. We need to use the software, and use sensors to monitor the assets. So there could be some extra cost and extra action here. And for the end of life, then of course, we have decommissioning, disposal. Along with that, then we should sort and handle spare parts, or we can resell the assets if possible, and dispose the unreusable parts, but with care of the environment. By the way, then you can score pretty high in the exam. So the details of hollow assets measurement here is pretty simple. But it requires you to pay attention to the type of the assets and customize your answer for specific assets in the question. Now, let's move on to the final question. This is a very standard question for question number 4 in L4M8. We also have a scenario. And the question here is to describe the 5 ways that a company can monitor suppliers' ESG performance. There are many options here, and you can explain any 5 of these. We can establish the ESG KPIs, SOA, and monitor the supply performance based on KPI and SOA. We can create a framework like balance scorecard and monitor supplier based on balance scorecard. We can also organize regular review and meeting, require supplier to improve over time. You can also monitor their accreditation. Supplier may get some well-trusted accreditation like Fairtrade, ISO 14001, or SA 8000, and other certification as required. If they fail to achieve a year, then that could be, you can call them into question. There are other ways to follow, like you can establish a hotline and allow the whistleblower to report any wrongdoing from the supplier. And we can also monitor the media report of that supplier, but it rarely works. And finally, you can always plan for audit and conduct the audit for supplier. And if you find any wrongdoing, then you can have the corrective action plan, ask them to improve, and then monitor their performance further on. So for this question, then you should be able to describe the tools here, and along with the way you can deploy this way into a scenario. And based on the scenario. So you should refer to the details from the scenario. Yeah, Nigel, it is okay to use MBO, management by objective. It's fine. Yeah, ESG can be defined by objective, and then you can use MBO, of course. So this is the end of today's revision of review. Thank you very much for participation. And if you have any further concern, you can contact us on WhatsApp with this number or email us. We shall upload this recording to our YouTube channel and our website. Thank you very much for your participation and see you in other revision. Goodbye.